So let's move to structure of KRS.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Wednesday, an audit came out from the state auditor talking about KRS. You guys saying that there were some overpayments that came from employers to the system,
Right.
and that KRS wasn't using some accepted accounting accepted accounting practices.
Yep.
So is that contributing to the issue as well? And what do you guys say to those issues?
First of all, let me explain. An APA audit is a state audit. They're required to do it every 5 years. The last one was in 2013. When they reported in 2013, we had 19 exceptions that were reported. This time we had 3. So are we really running a tighter ship today than we were? Absolutely. In the state auditor, we got a clean bill of health from the state auditor on this report, and an auditor told me recently, a person who does audits says, if you don't come up with 3 exceptions, it'll look like you didn't do a good job. And I'm not casting aspersion at Auditor Harmon or his staff. They have 3 exceptions they found were valid exceptions. They, in one case, we failed to bill employers for reporting violations to the tune of $100,000. And let me explain that. We have 1,490 employers, City of Louisville Police and Fire, all the way down to agencies of 1 or 2 people. They have to report each month. They have 58 fields of data that are set up to report on. They have a reporting officer in charge. Those people turn over frequently. They have to be trained. They make mistakes. I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but the mistakes from 5 years ago over a year period versus today, it's been reduced about 95%. We're working to train these people. They still make mistakes. So they may have 2 employees and they had a payroll of $3,000, but they forgot to break it between the 2 people. Happens. It's a violation. They should be billed a fine of $1,000. We have said, look, this is not a serious problem. We got it corrected. It's only 2 people. $1,000 is a big hit. So we've used discretion in cases. The law says you can't do that. Clearly, we have a violation. We have proposed in legislation, I'm sure we're going to get it, replacing one word. It says we shall invoice. We're going to say we may invoice, to give us the discretion on those cases. I think that's relatively insignificant. In the other case, there was about $2.7 million, as I recall, where employers overpaid us and they have not been reimbursed, but the onus is on them, not us. So we report back to them they've been overpaid and they are to claim those assets, and in many cases, it's employee money, and the employees have subsequently left. They've maybe a variety of things, but I don't want to downplay $2.7 million in the scheme of things. But in the scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but it is it's something that hopefully could have been handled better. But the onus is not on us; it's on the employers.
So you guys are working to, and what about the accounting stuff? Because obviously, like you said, there were some accepted accounting practices, they said. But you guys have been working, I mean, I go to your board meetings and stuff and hear about the different things you're doing and different people you're hiring. Obviously, there's some new structures happening in terms of how you make your investments and the way you do accounting. So maybe talk a little bit about that and what you're doing to improve those practices.
Sure. A couple of things. 2016, the governor effectively, the effect was added 4 people to the board and required that 6 people on the board have investment, not just, we say investment experience. This isn't just not to belittle stockbrokers, but this isn't just a financial advisor who's dealing with people. These are people who either invest or advise large institutional managers. We have people on the board who've been responsible for $50 billion, let's say, of institutional assets. So that was accomplished, and so we are now a board of 17. There are actually 9 people on the investment committee, 6 of whom have to be investment professionals. It's been a huge benefit to us. If you ask the investment staff, Have they been helpful? Absolutely. There's no question. If you ask the board, our entire board, have they been helpful? Absolutely. There's just no question. So we're in a much better position. Transparency, okay? So you go to our board meetings. You don't have to go anymore if you don't want to, because we live stream them.
Yes, you do.
And we started about 18 months ago. We live streamed the board meetings. I asked in a national conference of retirement executive directors how many people live stream their meetings, and maybe 2 hands went up. I mean, we're at the forefront of trying to be transparent in that way. So we live stream the board meeting, we live stream the investment committee meeting, we live stream the audit meeting, and they're archived on our website. So if you can't tune it in, I will say if you ask somebody who tunes in, all you can see is the people in the table, and you can hear quite well what the conversation is. You can't see the exhibits that are shown. We're going to fix that problem. We're also working to get fixed so the camera can focus on who's speaking. Right now it's just the whole table. So very conscious about transparency. We have the rap of being non-transparent. It's a rap that takes a long time to go away. I mean, if somebody's known for something, that's what something happened in the past, it's hard to shake that. I will tell you, there's our annual report, which just went on the website. If you wanted to know who are the firms that run our investments, you could turn to page, it's not a secret. I mean, people say, well, you don't even publicize who runs your money. Well, here's 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages, not on every name. American Century, Amera, Anchorage Capital, Arbor Investments, and so forth. How much money they have, we manage for them. You can go and find any security you want in their portfolio. You know, if you want to know, obviously we own Facebook, or I would assume so. But small companies, how many shares we have in it. If you want to know how much we pay in commissions, it's in there. If you want to know how much we pay in investment manager expenses, it's in there. So being called non-transparent, I think, is it's a problem for us. It's an unfair claim. So between live streaming meetings, complying with open records requests, which is normal, we have an issue of investment manager contracts, and there's a problem there because many of those contracts are limited partnership agreements that are in place. We're already in them. There's maybe 99 other limited partners in there. And these managers say, wait a minute, you have a contract, and it has confidentiality provisions in it. We have 99 other investors. You think we're going to let you put that contract on the website? The answer is no. We're not going to let you do it. So we have to decide, can we live with that? And we're living with it by and large. We've had one manager resign. They had $75 million they were managing for us, and they said, here, you can have it back. We're not going to do that. We had another manager we were intending to hire with a $25 million allocation, and they declined. They finally said no. But with regard to public security managers who run stocks and bonds and so forth, their contracts are on there. They're allowed to redact. We ask them to surgically redact, not wholesale, and they're generally pretty good about it. But the contracts are also available to the 2 agencies in government. So the unredacted contracts are sunshine. It's within the state government that the sunshine is. The other thing I would say, unrelated, but I showed that page with the manager, actually 3 pages. There's maybe 130 different organizations we have investments with. That's going to go down. That's too many. We don't get the fee breaks we deserve. We don't need that much diversification. How we got there, I don't know. I wasn't here, but we had a kind of a history of putting small placements out, a number of small placements out, and it's more true in the hedge fund space and private equity space. Hedge funds were cutting back from $1.5 billion to maybe 300 to 500 million. We're in the process of doing that. By way of example, we just hired a fixed income manager to run a kind of a core portfolio. In the past, we would have hired, and we wanted to make $1 billion allocation. In the past, we would have hired 3 managers and given them 333. We hired 1 manager and gave him $1 billion. We saved about 9 basis points in fee because we get the leverage of the big size. We're perfectly comfortable. There are like 900 securities in their portfolio. We're perfectly comfortable that this is not a risk. It's not a business risk. It's not an investment risk.
So one more thing on the board. I've seen a lot of headlines, obviously, about someone on the board stepping down. Tell me about the board structure, that position, when you expect it to be filled.
Yeah. It's Neil Ramsey, who's the chief investment officer, is the chair of the investment committee, who came on in 2016. He's made extremely valuable contributions. And I say, you just ask the other board members. You ask people who go to the meetings, watch the meetings, what a high level of sophistication and how much of an impact he and others have had on that. So at the last board meeting, he just announced his intent to resign. He can't hold a board position and an elected official position. He's on the city council in Anchorage, Kentucky. So I don't know when that resignation is going to come, but it will come. And the board also created a role called investment advisor that we'll be able to vote people into. There's no specific number. It comes about not strictly because of Neil Ramsey, although he would make an excellent candidate to be on it if he chooses to. It would have to be approved by the board, but I would say in his case it would be a slam dunk. But the issue is it's hard to find people who want to be on the board and who have that experience. They've got day jobs that are very demanding. It's very demanding to be on the board. We have 5 or 6 meetings at least every year. They've got preparation. Our board books, which they read, are anywhere from 200 pages to 600 pages, and they have to be prepared when they come to the meeting. They're on at least one committee. The investment committee at one point, over a 14-month period, met 12 times. They have to come to Frankfurt to have the meeting. They have to be prepared. So we're asking a tremendous lot from people who are already very busy. That's number one. Number two is there is a lawsuit out called Mayberry. We have 11, the defendants are a variety of organizations that have served us, are or have, from actuaries to legal to accounting firms, to 3 investment management firms, to 11 current or former board members or employees. So when you look at saying, I'm going to come on the KRS board, and I look at a lawsuit where board members are the defendants, some people will think twice.
Right.
But we need that talent. Just have to have it.
So is there anything else that you want people to know about the Kentucky retirement system, the state of pensions in Kentucky, or anything along those lines? Things that people are not fully aware of, or there are a lot of misconceptions around?
The first thing I want people to know is if you talk to our members, the 392,000 members, I mean, this is a big system. We have 250 employees. I say there used to be a show on TV called, I'm not sure that it was about crime in New York, The City or something of that nature. And they would start by saying there's 8 million stories in this city, 8 million people. Mm-hmm. We have 392,000 stories. I was presenting at a conference in Louisville last week to a group of newly elected officials, county judges, magistrates, and so forth and so on. And they would come up with, people would come up and they say, well, you know, I'm a bus driver and I'm a part-time teacher and I do this and this, and how does a certain rule affect me? Well, that's one story. You got, I worked for 20 years, I took off for 2, I came back, how does that work? That's another story. So it's extremely complicated. Up until recently, we took 9 months to train somebody to understand the benefits, to be able to pick up the phone or have someone come in their office and say, here's my situation, to help me deal with the benefit structure. 9 months of preparation. We've had to cut that back for business reasons, so we've cut the scope back a bit as to what they have to cover. That's the first thing I want to know. It's very, very complicated. And the second thing is we have tremendous staff. the managers and the 250 people do a great job. They work hard. People come to KRS from other agencies in the state and they go, golly, you guys really work hard here. I mean, there's no feet up on the desk. That's number one. Number two is it's actually like a family. People help other people out. I had somebody join about a year and a half ago who had worked in another state agency, and he said, you know, people actually help each other here. That's not like where I came from. And we had a quote from somebody recently who was a member who said, finally, a state agency that really cares about the people they're serving. And I'm like Mayor Ed Koch, who used to be in New York. He always asks people, how are we doing? I ask that question. If I'm walking through the parking lot, somebody's coming out of a building. If I walk into a lobby and they're waiting to be served, or they're coming out, they've been served, I say, how are we doing? And I get such positive feedback. I'm really proud of the staff we have. And most people don't have an understanding of that. There's a lot of misperception that KRS is not a good place, and it's absolutely not true.